Help Wanted. Paul Solman explores the increasing need for skilled tradespeople in the U.S. This encore presentation is part of our series, Work Shift.
Superstar Seattle, where the high-tech young make six figures and up.
Okay, going in.
But you can make that much in low-tech too, says plumber Vinny Spizzari.
Drain cleaning, light plumbing repairs, and that kind of thing. We've got guys making over $100,000 a year.
Spizzari owns Seattle's Mr. Rooter franchise.
I've got plumbers that work for me today that make $200,000 plus a year.
And they're what age?
Any age in their 30s, 40s.
Making $200,000 a year or more.
Absolutely.
That's because there simply aren't enough plumbers. Not in boom towns like Seattle, not anywhere.
Manpower is one of the most frustrating parts of my job, filling all the spots. I could hire 6, 8 experienced plumbers right now.
But they're just not out there?
They're just not out there. Guys that are my age, they're aging out.
But why aren't they being replaced with the young, given their historically low labor participation rate, made worse by the pandemic?
There were all these kids who either aren't working at all or are working in dead-end, low-wage jobs. Why can't you just say to them, hey, by the age of 25 or 30, you can be making six figures. Just come with me.
I would love to. I've gone to some career days. You know, the kids, you're waiting for them to come talk to you, and they just don't.
So why no takers?
First and foremost is the perception of plumbing. Got the cutters right here?
Oh, yeah.
Trevor Caldwell is Vinny Spizzari's right-hand man.
There's this stigma that goes along with getting your hands dirty. Just a plumber. Not a person, just a plumber. And I don't want to be that guy.
Or that gal.
You're doing manual labor. Some people tend to look down on that. And that makes people not want to go into it, clearly.
Sarah Schnabel isn't a plumber, but an Ithaca, New York electrical apprentice.
Oh, there we go.
Another well-paying trade which can't find good help these days. A frustration for Schnabel's boss, Brian Lamort, and for his colleagues.
I know lots of guys in the trade who are contractors, and they're looking for help.
And willing to pay for it.
We've recently raised our rates as a business to $90 an hour, and we are not pushing the envelope. We were 75 a little while ago and 65 a little while before that. It's getting to the point where you probably pay us more to come fix your light switch than you do to go to the doctor.
So again, why no takers?
I do think for people my age, it's definitely more glamorous to think of the tech job where you're in a really nice, cushy office building. We're the kind of people who are going to hire someone to go change a light bulb, let alone go into the trades. That's kind of where my generation is right now.
I can't give them a power tool. They may kill themselves with it. They've never held a power tool in their life.
Yes, says Detroit master plumber Adrian Bennett, whose firm is currently helping to revitalize Michigan Central Station, it takes a non-cushy mindset.
This is physical work. You need to be there on a job site every day, and you got to be on time. And a lot of the young people today, they don't have work ethics.
But of course, plenty do. Determined to breed new plumbers, Vinny Spizzari runs his own year-long training program.
And then there's many options that you can provide.
Paying young people from the get-go to learn the trade.
We're paying our trainees $15, $16, $18 an hour. And then when you're done with the program, you're not a full licensed plumber, but you're a service technician who's able to snake drains and to do the kind of small plumbing repairs and whatnot and get close to that six-figure income. You're getting paid to learn that.
After a certain number of hours and possibly an exam, the requirements vary by locality, you can become a licensed plumber. A quality credential in an economy where only 11% of employers think colleges and universities are doing a good job of preparing people for the workforce.
Tighten everything before you hang that up there.
Says Spizzari of his apprenticeship program.
It's open for everybody. I would welcome anybody.
But, says Spizzari,
you'd be amazed at how many people we want to hire, but our insurance company won't insure them because of driving violations, drugs, can't keep a job. You see some applicants come in here in a ripped t-shirt, hasn't shaved. You go out and look at his car and it's full of garbage. It hasn't been washed in a month. Those are the things we look at.
But hey, plenty of young folks have intact t-shirts, clean faces, clean cars. Maybe they realize or learn that you need an apprenticeship to get licensed, says plumber Adrian Bennett.
And the apprenticeships are 5 years. And you start out at maybe $15, $16 an hour. And to get to that $40, $50 an hour, it's going to take you 5 or 6 years.
Plus, to get a job, isn't it who you know? And few potential candidates know tradespeople, it seems.
I didn't knew nobody.
Manuel Rios, a Mr. Rooter trainee, used to work on electric motors for $18 an hour, with little prospect of making much more. But by chance, he met some plumbers there.
They said that they make a lot of money, and I realized that the plumbing is never going to end because you're always going to need a plumber. So the business is always going to be there. It's not resetting.
The final barrier to entry in the trades is a familiar one, says electrician Lamort.
There's a certain feeling that it's kind of like a white man's game, I hate to say it. So people who are LGBTQ, minorities, are a little bit intimidated by the boys' club that exists.
And, of course, women. Added together, that's about 2/3 of the country. In the late 1970s, Adrian Bennett was recruited as a union plumbing apprentice under a federal program targeting women. Similar programs exist today.
This is something that will keep food on the table. It will keep clothes on your back. It'll keep a roof over your head. I'm living proof.
Living proof as CEO of her own industrial contracting plumbing business since 2008. For the PBS NewsHour, Paul Salman.
Storms that devastated Texas last month led to a major water crisis. But for weeks afterward, there weren't enough plumbers to help customers with the damage. All of this underscores the need for more of these skilled workers. And yet, for women and workers of color, there can be even greater obstacles. Paul Salman has the story for our series, Work Shift, and a warning. This story includes sensitive subject matter.
I was in a porta john one time. They picked me up with the crane.
They were Adrian Bennett's fellow workers during her 5-year union plumbing apprenticeship in the early 1980s.
And you're bouncing around in there, and you got that sewage. It's splashing all over you. You're afraid. You don't know what's going to happen.
The point was rather obvious.
Like the women before me, they wanted me to leave.
Those women before her, all white, had quit. But Bennett survived, got high-level training while not taking on college debt, was actually getting paid. In 1987, she became the first and still only black female master plumber in North America. Now running her own firm in Detroit, Bennett says it isn't just the stigma of dirty work or the emphasis on college that keeps people like her from getting a hands-on education for high-paying jobs in the understaffed trades.
I mean, this is a piece of artwork right here.
Unsurprisingly, perhaps, it's discrimination. Because you're a woman? Because you're black?
I never, even to this day, I still can't answer that question. In those days, there was no place for me to go and complain. There was nobody I could go talk to.
Women obviously make up half or more of the population. African Americans another 14%. But according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, only 8% of plumbers are black. As for women, take Bennett's own union local.
It's over 1,500 members and 13 women.
But just listen to what she endured from her fellow apprentices.
Dead rats in my lunchbox. And they were used to groping me.
One of them savagely.
He grabs me by my buttocks and he lifts me up off the floor. And by him doing that, he ripped my skin. It hurt. And I looked and there was blood. By this time, I was so tired of them putting their hands on me. I grabbed a pipe wrench out of my tool belt. And before I realized it, I came down on the top of his hard hat. And I said, it stops today. You pass the word. The next that puts their hands on me will die. And I will go to prison happily.
The hazing stopped. But the prejudice wasn't just against women. Even in heavily African American Detroit,
When I got into the trade, there were no black men. They had left the union because they themselves were being called the N-word, being called a boy. You know, they were being treated like they were in the Deep South.
Tanya Hicks is from the Deep South,
Meridian, Mississippi.
and she's another rarity in the trades.
Only 3% of all electricians in the United States are women, and I'm one of the 3%.
And blacks comprise less than 7% of the electrical trade. No wonder Hicks became Mississippi's first black female journeyman back in 1999. She now runs her own firm in Atlanta. How tough was it for her?
I had a foreman tell me that all black women do is get fat, have a bunch of kids, and collect welfare.
Growing up in Meridian, Mississippi, were you expecting to be treated as badly as you were treated?
Yes.
Why?
I grew up in an environment where discrimination and racism was a daily thing. So I didn't know anything different. My grandfather was stabbed 62 times and they slit his throat.
Why? What did he do?
He was black. So when you learn that people hate and what hate does and what hate looks like and feels like, you don't know anything different. So no, I expected it. But I was brave enough to go and hungry enough to stay.
And tough enough to endure. But haven't things changed? How come more black people, more women don't try to become electricians?
It's hard to get a point of entry. Historically, women and minorities have been systematically kept out of these higher paying skilled jobs. The unions have a history of it, including my own union. And when you do get in, there's no place for advancement.
In addition, says Hicks,
it's based on who you know. And that's how most people hire. They hire who they like and who they're comfortable with. So if you don't have black people in management, you don't have women in management, it won't change.
Bring it up and then bring it all the way over.
As Adrienne Bennett learned recently when she was interviewing African American plumber candidates.
One guy said that he couldn't get into the union because he didn't have any connections. He should have been able to go to that union hall, knock on their door and say, I want an application to get in. Who do you know? I don't know nobody. They shut the door.
But Bennett does think things are changing.
The UA, which is the United Association, which is for the piping trades, a national level, the president at the conference this year, he had made a mandate that harassing, hazing is going to stop. The workplace is not a place for that. So now it is better, but it's a mindset that is generational. They still feel that they can say and do what they want.
For the PBS NewsHour, Paul Salmon.
So much going